Hi, and our audio is messed up tonight. That's fun. But anyway, welcome to Coffee with the Dead. I'm your host, as always, except a little more mixed up tonight, Para Ann. Well, I figure out my audio because, the joys of going live and all. Uh, am going to have some fun with this, hearing myself. Let's see, last time this happened, it's because I still had my feed up. Okay, I think we just stopped now. Very good. So, there have been some updates tonight. I did some new merch again. We have pet hoodies, which is super cool, super cute. And hey, you guys in chat, Bishop Arts and Sciences and Lady List, if you can hear me okay, let me know. I hear an echo. Let me know if it is doing the fun little echo thing on your end too. So we have pet hoodies. Like I said, they're super cute, super fun. They come in sizes small through 6L. And let's see, what else did I make? I made some new tote bags. We have a new super fun, multicolored retro logo going on. Instead of just the black and white with the Mugman, now we have a nice kind of neon triangle logo going on, which is a little bit of an echo. Yeah, I don't know. Tonight's just going to be complicated. So, go over to the Teespring store and you can go to teespring.com/stores/CWTD. I think we're just abbreviated. So some of you are saying video's not working, and some of you are saying there's echo. So none of you are getting messed up video and messed up audio. You're just getting one or the other. Huh. I don't know what to do. We're just gonna have a fun night. So if you just bear with me 1 second, we will pause so I can fix my stupid audio because I really hate hearing myself. So give me like 2 minutes. Alright, well, that's much better. Apparently, I don't know how to plug an auxiliary cable in all the way. It's not just one click. You have to hear 2 clicks because, I don't know, these little cables have a locking safety feature, which makes it actually super unsafe for people like me who don't know what they're doing. Anyway, now we will welcome you guys to Coffee with the Dead. Gee whiz. Alright, so, for those of you who are just joining, thank you for coming in a bit late because you have completely missed out on the disastrous start, aka Perry not knowing how to use cables. And we have new merch in the Teespring store now. I was saying earlier, we got pet hoodies that I just made that are really cute, as affordable as I could make them. Seriously, guys, I make like between $3 to $5 off of every sale in the Teespring store. So I know I've been getting some comments that things are priced too high, but I'm sorry, like, if I'm gonna make any money, I have to charge a certain amount. So, and I want to make some money. Like, okay, on the actually on the t-shirts, I only make $1.50 off of every sale of those. So you buy a $20 t-shirt, I get $1.50. So, this is the world we live in. Tonight we have Daniel Belasco on from Canadian synth pop band 𝕬𝕦𝕚𝕚𝕚. He will be talking about some of his own personal spooky ghost encounters and also talking about his 2 new album releases that he just did. If you guys want to call into the show and you're not on the YouTube chat, you can call us at 443-267-8217. And, of course, if you're in chat, that's good. Yeah, Bishop Arts and Science is saying Teespring takes a huge cut of every sale. Yeah, they do, but they offer such a wide variety of printable options that I like it. So, and that's what I use, and sorry, guys. Sorry to your wallets ahead of time. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and bring Daniel in. Hey, Daniel, can you hear me? Yeah, you're a little low.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go. Hi.
Hi.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess.
I'm 40 years old. I have blonde hair. I make music. I also cook quite well.
Mm.
I not really that tall, but I'm above average height. I'm 5'11". Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, you didn't ask for anything specific.
No, I didn't. I said just introduce yourself to everybody. So there you go. Good job.
I'm Daniel Belasco. I'm sort of the main brains behind a synth pop project called 𝕬𝕬𝕚𝕚𝕚. I also have a few other side projects as well. An old school industrial band called Razorback Hollow and a gothic rock band called the Necromancer's Union, plus a noise project called Everything Is Totally Fucked. And, well, the list can just grow and grow and grow.
And grow.
Yeah.
So you are in Canada, obviously, yes?
Yeah, I'm in a little township called St. David's, which is sandwiched between Niagara Falls, Ontario, and Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, which is one of the more haunted places in probably the whole country, really. It was sort of the main battleground for the War of 1812, which is the one war that most American people don't know about because they didn't win.
Right.
We did. Well, we were under British rule at the time, so it's kind of erroneous to say that it was Canada, but it was. They were Canadian people, so yeah. So it's pretty rich with with history in the area for a variety of things, but the War of 1812 being a really big one. Just a lot of dead people around, you know? Just
Yeah.
really, there's a whole lot of dead people. Like it's that one quote from The Lost Boys where it said, if all the dead people in the town all stood up at once, there'd be a hell of a population problem. And that's pretty true. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Super true.
Um,
So you've had some things happen as a result of all that of the war being is like war related, mostly history up there, or
uh, well, that's a lot of it. There's also um, there's a canal, the Welland Canal, which goes through this whole area, which connects Lake Erie with Lake Ontario, and then connects Lake Ontario to the St. Lawrence Seaway, which then eventually goes out into the Atlantic Ocean. It's a huge shipping uh, conduit through this whole area here, going into the industrial areas of like Indiana and Detroit, Michigan, and so on and so forth through the Great Lakes and all that stuff. It's really been like it's a very rich history in the area. Lots of dead people, you know.
mm-hmm.
You have something going on for long enough that that's just dangerous anyways. There's going to be a lot of, you know, stuff like ships, lakers, which are the big shipping ships, I guess.
Yeah.
Somebody once told me a joke that was really interesting, that in a car you take a shipment, but in a ship you take cargo. And I just always thought that was
The
really
irony
funny.
of that, yeah, that's a little backwards, right?
Yeah. So it's you know, it's pretty haunted area if that's your thing. I mean,
Well,
I am
you
gonna
are
go on
on
the
the
record.
show where it is our thing,
I'm
so
gonna go on the record and be like, I don't actually really believe in ghosts in the traditional concept of them, but a lot of neat things that have gone on around here, and regardless of my personal beliefs or not, they're very fun stories to tell people, and it's a really cool sort of set of lore that this area has,
so you
which is
say you don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense. So do you have a belief in them in your own way then?
yeah. If I want to sound super nerdy,
Yeah, this is the show for it. Go
I
ahead.
believe that it has more to do with interdimensional rifts than it has to do with the spirits of the dead.
Ooh, sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Okay, well, think of it this way, right? That you know, people see bits of history and so on and so forth. Like, you know, one of the stories that I'm going to tell is one of these specific cases where you know, somebody sees something like a moment in history sort of re-happening, like happening again in the area that they're in. And to me, my belief is that when you die, you're dead. Like, you're gone. That's
Yeah.
it. There's no residual anything. It's physics doesn't
There's no
necessarily dictate
soul.
it.
There's no like energy remain. Nothing. Like
Yeah,
you
there's no
just cease.
post-life existence. I mean, I'm willing to accept being wrong on that, though, because I mean, when it comes time for me to die, which is an inevitability, everybody does, if I'm standing there going, "Oh, there is an afterlife," and be like, "Well, I was a fucking dingbat."
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel it more like like a some sort of turbulence happens and sort of blows a certain percentage of a different dimension into ours for just a fleeting moment, so that we actually exist partially on the same dimensional plane, and we can interact to a certain degree, yet not actually change the outcome of anything. You
So
know,
you
like,
don't think you were interacting with those who have lived and died? You think that this dimension that we can briefly get a glimpse of is other people just like us who are alive in their
well,
own worlds, or
it is us.
okay,
Yeah, it is us. It's just we're peeking into
like our
a.
past lives, or like
Well, I wouldn't say that, because it's us existing on one of the infinite multiverse. You know,
oh, so like
um,
every apparition or every like paranormal experience we have is just another version of our own selves.
yeah, pretty much. Like, not to put too fine of a point on it, but that's sort of it. So it's like a rift between the two, where they just intermingle for a very short amount of time, but it happens regularly. You know, and
So
and
then,
it has
how would
happened for a
you
really long time.
how do you explain that in cases of like historical hauntings when it's a lady in period dress and she's, you know, waiting for her husband to return, and you just see her weeping in a corner, and you can validate that experience with historical records that yes, there was a widow who lived here waiting and waiting for her husband, and this is where she sat, blah blah blah.
Well, we've all seen Star Trek, and so we all understand that there is a concept of like some sort of time loop, some trap of time and space that just repeatedly goes over and over and over again. I don't think we're at a scientific level where we genuinely can understand anything like that, but knowing what we know about how time and space exist and work, it's not entirely outside of the realm of that actually being a real thing, but happening in an alternate universe that it's I mean, there's two reasons to me with hauntings. It comes down to two things. One is that it's some sort of just dimensional rift. The other is that it's straight up fucking bullshit. Because
and we're all just like having a bad day and like hallucinating a little, or
just making it up. Human beings are wonderful at making things up. The power of suggestion is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanely powerful.
Yeah.
People can honestly have never experienced anything at all at any point in their life, but if at some point they feel like they have, or believe like they should strong enough, and say it enough times, that memory that lie essentially becomes a memory to them, and the longer that it goes on for. So
they can see it, they can feel it, they can smell it, like exactly. And then suddenly that scar they got, while baking cookies and burning themselves is, oh no, there's a metal implant in my wrist from aliens.
Yeah, I mean, bullshit is really strong with human beings. Like, we're really, really good at saying it and also letting it affect us. Now, that's not to take value away from people who say that they've experienced certain things, because here's the real fun twist of it all. Who are we actually to say that they didn't experience it? Even if it didn't happen physically, something to them happened.
Right.
So
there's a lot of layers there, because I mean, like, even when you go into like the psychology of it all, like that could be just a coping mechanism for somebody who's been through a trauma that they're repressing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hallucinations are something that your brain is going to do without your permission.
Yeah.
Right. And that's usually why with people who have severe paranoid schizophrenia and various other genuine mental illnesses that cause them to actually have hallucinations, in the sense of like hearing voices and so on and so forth, if something that if it's new to them or something like that, they might actually say, like, if it's something that they've never really experienced, but then they start to experience them later, they might think that they're sitting in a haunted house when in fact it's not. It's just these things that they're hearing. But how is the impact on them personally any different than if it actually was ghosts?
Right. It's such a fine line. That's why we just have to say, that's why we call it paranormal, because they're normal experiences that we don't have an answer, but we know weird things happen.
Yeah, so by saying I don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense, that doesn't mean that I take, that I want to trample on people that do believe in them, because I have a pretty firm stance on, like, people can believe in whatever they want as long as murdering other people or hurting people isn't part of that belief.
Right. As long as they're causing no harm.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe what you want, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, the dimensional rift thing it's more of a fun idea to explore. I mean, I'm not a scientist by any means. I'm just a smartass and who's been paying attention to a lot of stuff for a long time.
I wouldn't go that far with the comments you've made. I mean, they seem to be pretty well thought out, and actually they don't sound very far-fetched or made up, so I wouldn't go that far as to make fun of yourself for it, but
I think what we like to do, though, is we like to sort of take credit away from how amazing the physical world actually really is, and we like to automatically ascribe to amazing things some sort of ulterior spiritual.
We're still very primitive in that sense, right? Like our ancestors, like
so we still have people that believe in God.
Yeah, and it's like our ancestors and stuff, like, the first time a human experienced rain, they'd say, oh, it's magic.
Well, yeah, some of the oldest religions on the face of the planet are based entirely around cause and effect.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the greatest things ever is, you know, with the sun god Ra, the whole physical embodiment of Ra was that of a giant dung beetle or whatever it was that the scarab, right?
The scarab,
Because they
yes.
saw a beetle rolling a fucking hunk of shit, round circular hunk of shit across the desert floor, and they just made that connection. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this giant ball must be rolled through the sky by an invisible beetle.
Yeah.
Which is, it sounds ridiculous when you think about it, but at the time, like, what was their point of
They were
reference?
looking for
You know,
they were looking for explanations, and there was their sign, right?
everyone
So
wants answers to the scary shit. Like,
yeah.
really, you're
Yeah.
gonna die one day.
Because
That's
everyone
the
wants to
worst.
not be scared. But
Yeah, it's the worst. You're gonna die one day.
yeah,
Like, we all
exactly.
get it. It
Just
sucks. It's balls. We're gonna.
stop looking for answers and just accept it. Like, this
Yeah,
is
well, I
going
mean,
to
looking for
end.
answers. I think looking for answers is great. It's given us.
Well,
It's
stop
given us.
making up answers until
Yeah,
you have
making up
like
answers is
yeah.
one thing, but searching for answers is what's given us like a history of the creative arts. You know, it's what's given us books, you know, like stories, not just books that are recounting historical things or things like mathematics and stuff like that. It's given us creativity at its root, where people are using this innate ability that we have to search, to be on a quest for something deeper and further involved in these seemingly trivial events that
Oh
we
yeah,
deal
we
with
do
on a
not want to
day-to-day basis.
admit that we're like microscopic in the big picture. Like,
No, I mean, like I always tell people that the greatest thing that I ever realized was how insignificant my existence is in the state of the universe.
and
Right?
become
Because
okay
that,
with that. Like, don't
well,
let
yeah, because it frees you up to just not worry
yeah.
about so many things, but it also frees you up to be more um, deliberately creative. Like me as a musician, I also draw and paint every once in a while, and so on and so forth. Um, to be creative, and then to realize that, like, it's not a competition. You're not ever going to be the greatest on earth. You're not. Your existence is insignificant outside of the sphere of Earth. You know, it just frees you up to do so many more things and not worry about the little things that you might have to, you know, like, oh, am I doing this right? Right.
What's it matter? You know,
Yeah.
does it make you feel good? Then okay,
Yeah,
then it must be,
exactly.
you know, then it's right.
Is it important to me?
Yeah,
You know.
right.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah, but we have a need as humans to want to be noticed, and we're just by nature just so competitive. So we
Yeah,
really
I don't even
let our things
honestly.
get out of control.
I don't even think naturally we're competitive, because when you see kids are amazing. Kids show us the shit that we forgot,
This
and
is true.
you see them and they do things like effortlessly try to help each other to do stuff, and or they see somebody, like I've been blessed with a bunch of nieces and nephews and stuff, and I've been around for all their lives, and they're varying ages and so on. The oldest is like turning 20 this year, or
Mm.
turned 20 last year, or I can't remember, I'm bad at that. But and the youngest is like, you know, 5 or whatever, and they're all varying degrees of shit most of us forgot that we were capable of.
Yeah,
So there's this
that's
really
very
great
true.
idea that there's a speaker. His name is Sir Ken Robinson. He's from the UK, and he said that we basically educate creativity out of kids. We squander their creativity ruthlessly because we're under the impression that we're supposed to achieve these certain things by a certain age and live a certain life by a certain age, completely forgetting all of these wonderful and amazing things that we had freely available to us when we were younger.
Right.
And so we erroneously look back at those freedoms of the youth as them being immature. But there's another great quote too, that is, children build nations and fight wars. Don't think any less of them because they're young. You know, being young isn't their fault. You know, it's not anything they have any control over. They're young. They were born against their will, as I put it. Most people are born without being asked,
Yeah.
and they're thrust forth into this life, where they're supposed to achieve what? You know, few.
There's a mold that we're all supposed to fit in. There's
Yeah.
you're by this age you do this, but you know we're all on this timeline of events, and that doesn't fit every personality type. Like not everyone is. That doesn't make. That's not what everyone wants to do.
There's a lot of people out there that I know that I've spoken to that actually say that if they were asked before they were born, they would probably have said no. And I think that's a really wild concept, because these are also people that are not, they don't believe that there's any existence before you know, are some form of sentient, post-embryonic, living creature that's ready to pop out of your host. And
Yeah.
um, but if some way in there was a way where they could be consulted before, be like, listen, here's the deal, okay, you're going to be born and your life is roughly going to go in this way. A lot of people would be like, fuck off, no
Oh.
way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, give me
Yeah.
a break, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because life's generally hard. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing about that is it's not supposed to be
it
easy.
doesn't. Yeah, no.
Life is supposed to be difficult, and I don't mean supposed to be in that there's like an ultimate being that's like made it this way. It's just that living in itself, being alive,
Trying to
and
survive.
trying to survive alone, just the whole trying to survive
Not
thing.
even trying to like support a family. I mean, just
Yeah,
you as one being trying to survive on this
yeah.
earth. Yeah.
And we have all of these wonderful things that we've done to ourselves. Like mental illnesses that straight up didn't exist at any point in history before, we started really, really making life considerably more difficult for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to go back 1,000 years or more and start talking to people about like anxiety disorders and social anxiety, they genuinely would be bothered by the concept of it.
Right.
Because at that point too, there was nowhere near as many people on Earth. You could straight up go somewhere, start a family, raise your family, have a farm, and almost never see anyone else at any point in your life.
Very
Now,
true. Yep.
now you have to go to places that are ironically super expensive to get as far away from people as you can get,
Yeah.
because we've commodified the idea that isolation from bullshit is something that you have to ironically work hard to get. I think it's really weird.
Yeah, it's like you have to be able to now afford the time away from everything that stresses you out.
Yeah, and we've criminalized the idea of living off the grid, which I think is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
That we've made it, I don't mean like legally criminalized, I mean socially. We've made people that move away from civilization look like fucking lunatics.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that quack old weird hermit hippie that lives out in the woods and grows pot. You know what? I bet you that fucker's so happy.
Oh, I bet
You
he's
know,
gonna live like he's gonna
he'll be
live until he's
112 years
100.
old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he'll
Right,
be
he's out
happy as
there
ever.
smoking reefer every day. He's got like 6 dogs. He grows all his own food. Like,
Yep.
he's probably in tip-top health because he works hard all day. He eats nothing but plant-based diet. Like the guy's
He gets
just,
plenty of exercise. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, he's
hilarious. But that kind of thing is like, oh, you go and do that, you're some kind of fucking weirdo. Really? Really? You're weird.
I mean,
You're
that's how
weird.
our ancestors started, right? I mean, that's how
Yeah.
they lived. So were they that weird? I mean,
That's not
it's
even how
like
they started. That's how it, like, when
that's
you
how
look
just
at
how it was.
yeah, when you look at how long we've been doing things the way that we're doing it now, it is very minimal on the great calendar of human existence.
Yeah.
So to say that now is the majority of how we've been doing things, like now I'm talking about like the last, like, let's say 500 years or so. This whole idea where like money and stuff buys you bullshit and you do bullshit to get more bullshit.
Made us
Right.
completely like codependent.
Yeah, it's deprived us of a lot of things. I mean, it's given us certain things too, like modern advances in technology and all sorts of shit. But I mean, that stuff would have happened anyways,
Yeah.
but on a much slower scale, because as soon as it was monetized and it became a race, then it was,
Yep. Then
But
yeah.
I don't want to get too far into that. This is a show about ghosts.
This is story time. Yeah. So I'm going to take a minute and welcome people who have came into the chat room. We have Lisa Rambo. Hey. We have Lady Liz. We have Cybermancer, who mentioned back when you were talking about the interdimensional rifts and whatnot. He said that, or he or she said that's called a casual loop.
Mhm.
Yep. And then we have Chris Geyser and Marty Kingshot and Verdict Zero.
This thing is rad. We have Rambo in the house.
Rambo.
Rambo.
Yes, yeah, yep. Not that Rambo though.
Well, don't ruin it.
We're just gonna roll with it, yeah.
Any Rambo is a good Rambo.
Yes. So,
Okay.
we are headed into story time. So again, if you guys who are listening have any questions, you can call in. The number is 443-267-8217. Or if you're in the YouTube chat, you can go ahead and type your questions in there. So, okay, story time. Begin.
All right, well, we'll start with one of the more well-known sort of local legends, and it takes place in ℚ𝕚𝕚 There's this place called the Old Angel Inn, and it's a bar and restaurant, but it's an inn as well, and it's notoriously haunted by the ghost of Captain Colin Swayze, who was well, I'll read you some of the history. This is more like accounts from people. There's a lot of people know about it. People specifically go to the Angel Inn because they want to have an experience with the ghost of Captain Colin Swayze. So I'll just read you a little bit here that's in front of me. So it's the Old Angel Inn is located at 224 Regent Street in ℚ𝕚𝕚. Some bullshit. The plaques found outside the front door of one of Ontario's oldest inns tell the story of one Captain Colin Swayze.
Now you got that narrator voice. Yeah. Good, keep it up.
The story goes that the captain was killed in the basement by American soldiers searching the property, which is pretty much true. He hid in a wine barrel or a rum barrel or something like that, hiding from them, and they just ended up stabbing the barrel and killed him.
Were they just stabbing all the barrels, or like
people would hide in them? So
yeah,
he was hiding in it, and they just stab it or shoot it or something, and it was done.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
But let me find. So here's let me find something better here. I mean, I know so much of the story, but I want to read something that's actually cohesive, because yeah. Ghost story. Captain Colin Swayze had delayed joining the British retreat in order to rendezvous with a young woman believed to be his true love. Isn't that always the way?
That's how it starts, yes.
Yeah. Surprised by American soldiers sent to search the inn, he hid in an empty barrel in the cellar. Ah. The invaders used bayonets to prod into every corner and possible place of concealment, and the unlucky lover received a fatal wound.
Mm-hmm.
Some believe the ghost of Captain Swayze is fated to walk the inn at night, perhaps in longing for his sweetheart. There have been reports of noises coming from the empty dining room, rearranged place settings, and other unexplained occurrences. It is said that his ghost will remain harmless as long as the British flag flies over the inn, a precaution prudently taken by the proprietor. So,
all right then. So have you been there? Have you?
I've been there tons of times.
Has anything happened when you were there?
Never. No.
No.
They have
okay.
really, really good authentic English sausage rolls. So I mean, the place is so good. It's it's cool. My brother used to perform there when he did like sort of a Celtic folk thing, and just it's local lore. I mean, people do know it worldwide, and people will come there specifically to see if something happens. The funniest thing about it all is that when they added the bathrooms to the place, I believe that the ladies' bathroom was put in an area where he supposedly was killed, and so he was more frequented to haunt the woman's washroom, which has led people to refer to him as a pervert.
Okay.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
Because it's like, perfect. The only authentic ghost we have in the whole area, and he's a perv. But
wouldn't that just make you more angry if you were Captain Spaulding and be like, oh great, this is what they've done to me?
Yeah, it'd be like, awesome.
You can fly the British flag all you want, but I'm angry.
Now
I'm angry now.
Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Wicked. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I've never had anything happen to me there myself. I know some people that said they have had, a weird feeling when they're in the washroom or just when they're in the downstairs sort of area, and hearing footsteps and stuff like that. But it's hard to believe a lot of people because it's a place where people frequently get drunk, and that's usually like a telltale sign that the bullshit is pretty high.
Right.
But also, when you go to a place that has that thick of a lore around it, anything that you hear, if you're convinced that the place is haunted and you're there to to have an experience.
Someone drops their fork behind you, and you're gonna say
like,
you heard
the ghost of
footsteps.
Colin Swayze.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, some idiot dropped their fork.
Yeah.
Like, but that's not to discount that something very real could be happening there. One of these casual loops.
Yeah.
You know, something happened for this person to have been there at that specific time and was gutted by a bayonet while hiding in a barrel, and you know, and I don't know, who knows, right?
Right.
Who knows? But there's just lots of, excuse me, I have to burp.
Go for it.
And I was polite about it.
That could have just ended everything right there. That could have caused a casual loop.
Yeah, it could have caused a rift in time and space.
Thankfully, it didn't.
Yeah.
That we know of.
I see some people in the chat saying they would like to go there. If you get a chance, you totally should. I mean, obviously not right now, because you can't really.
Everything's closed, yeah.
But once, if we ever get a handle on this whole thing and the world opens up again, do yourself a favor and go there, because not only is Niagara-on-the-Lake a really beautiful place, it's totally awesome with all kinds of other stories of ghosts, this and that, and so on and so forth, but the Angel Inn has really good food. So
those sausage rolls, right?
Yeah. The traditional sausage rolls are the best.
Marty Kingshot, Marty, you live in Toronto, right? Or somewhere up around there. He lives somewhere close enough where he could actually possibly go. Now, AJ Ball, he's right here in Maryland where I am, so good luck getting across the border.
Yeah, well, you can't. It's closed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, good luck. But maybe Marty.
I mean, so in terms of the Niagara-on-the-Lake area, and this whole area here, I mean, everywhere, like in St. David's, Niagara Falls, one of the biggest battles and bloodiest battles of the War of 1812 took place in Niagara Falls, and there's actually a huge monument there, and there's a little bit of a cemetery of some people, you know, and it's a point of pride for this whole area here, because, like I said, it wasn't a huge war. Like, didn't go on for that long, and you know, but it was a huge thing because this whole area would be the United States if we didn't win.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You know, when we burned the White House down, that's pretty hard ass. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That rules, you know, for us to just be like, oh, really? Well, we're gonna burn your fucking White House down. So, yeah, there's lots of things. So there's some other stories. My mom used to do ghost tours in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which were just walking tours around the various areas of Niagara-on-the-Lake that were notorious for having some sort of ghost story or ghost involvement, or maybe sometime 30 years ago someone just made some bullshit up and it stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so there's all kinds of things. And one of them that I remember, and this is really funny, because if anybody has seen the movie The Dead Zone, it was filmed in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And oh, he lives in Bracebridge. Yeah, it's in Ontario, but it's a bit far. So yeah. So they filmed a large chunk of The Dead Zone in Niagara-on-the-Lake and in some sort of surrounding areas. And the gazebo that a lot of scenes sort of near the middle of the movie took place, that gazebo was built for the movie in 1980, and then they left it there as a gift to the city. Well, there's tons of people that have just made up bullshit ghost stories about it because they think it's been there for like 100 years or whatever.
Oh, that's the best. I love that. Yeah. And meanwhile, you know.
I know.
Like, you hear these stories and you're just like, no, it's only been there since the 80s.
You're very wrong. Oh, it's one of the oldest gazebos in Ontario. Wrong. It's not even one of the oldest gazebos in the area. Like, it's
I love it.
It's 40 years old. They're really cool stories, but they're always really sappy, and they always revolve around things like, you know, because Fort Niagara, which is in New York State, which is literally like you can see the United States from the beach in Niagara-on-the-Lake because it's just the Niagara River. It's several hundred yards away. So there's a lot of, you know, tales of like wives waiting for their sailor captain husbands to return home and stuff, and they didn't, and all sorts of shit. And it's really hard to decipher if any of them at all at any point have any roots in the truth. but they're still great stories, and they help enrich the area very much so. So that's another thing about sort of ghost stories and haunting stories and stuff that I really enjoy, is that they enrich the area. And that brings me to the one thing that I've been wanting to talk about, and it's called the Witch House.
Ooh, I like the name already. Okay.
So the Witch House is this house in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and it's just a little bit away from the coast of Lake Ontario. And it is this old place that has a lot of history and lore surrounding it, and a lot of it is of questionable accuracy, but it's amazingly awesome to think about. So this house is just a big, like, rectangular brick old place. It's genuinely very, very, very old, and it's been abandoned for a very long time. And the story is that the family that owns it, they moved in, and within, I think, a few days or something like that, they moved out in the middle of the night, and the place remained empty.
After just a few days?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So serious Amityville kind of vibes
Right.
to it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great stories about it. So at one point, it's not sure if this was true or not, but it used to be like a boys' school, like for kids, like young boys. And one of the stories is that the basement was always sort of like an off-limits place because something, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
It was just, don't go down there, it's dangerous. Well, something at one point either pulled or pushed a young boy down the stairs, and he fell down the stairs and died at the bottom of the stairs. There was no one around, and he was just like walking through the room, and he was near the front door, and the stairs were sort of in the middle of the main room when you come in through the front door or whatever. So he couldn't have like tripped and fell.
Right.
He was thrown or pulled down. And there's, I mean, that's obviously creepy enough, because anything where kids die is like, oh great, now the place is haunted by the ghost of a pissed off child. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there was, and I'm pretty sure this is bullshit, but it makes it even more interesting, that there was a woman who lived there, who was, it was around the time when people were, dying of regular illnesses and stuff like that. She was the only one left alive, and she had to like run around. So each room had a fireplace in it, because that's how they built places in those days.
Yeah.
So she had to basically continually run around making sure the fires were lit in all of the rooms. Otherwise, something bad would happen if one of them wasn't. So it's kind of like the Winchester house, where like she had to keep like building onto it to keep the ghosts of all the murdered people at bay. This one was like she had to do this whole thing. And
that sounds like a movie plot right there. Like, that's almost like too much detail unless she kept like a diary and someone found it. Like, how would anybody know?
Like, how would anybody know?
Yeah.
Like, this was a person that no one ever spoke to,
Yeah.
There's also a lot of speculation that at some point, possibly in the 60s or in the 80s, the place was used as a site for satanic rituals. Which
yes, that is so common. Yes,
love
another
the
common
idea
one.
of, because so I was dating a girl named Jess a few years ago, and she worked in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And anybody who's been by there, we know about the witch house, right? Well,
Right.
one day, she calls me and she's like, "Daniel, I'm gonna do something stupid." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "The door to the witch house is open." I'm like, "Oh, go in."
Right.
What the hell are you doing? Go in. She's like, "I'm going in." I'm like, "That's not stupid. That's adventurous." Like, because it hadn't been open. It'd been boarded up for ages. Like, people broke in there and had parties and stuff like that. But the front door always remained closed for the most part, right? But it was just wide open, and like the gate, there was a big gate around the lot, and the front part of the gate fence was actually open. So somebody had obviously been in there intentionally.
Yeah.
So she gets out of her car and she starts going up to the place, and this other guy who like lived up the street was walking up, and he's like, "Are you gonna go in there?" And she's like, "I don't know." And he said something like, "I've lived here for 25 years or whatever, and I've never seen the front door of this place open," right? So she goes in, she takes pictures. I wish I wanted to try and find them before this, but this is she's got them. I'll get them from her eventually. But if you ever wanted to film a movie that was about a bunch of kids that summon demons or the devil or whatever, that would be the house to do it in. You wouldn't even
Really?
have to build a set.
Was it
You
like
would just,
spray painted up
oh
and
god,
like?
satanic. I mean, and she got pictures from downstairs in the basement, and there's like kids' handprints and stuff on the walls, and just like, oh, it's so good.
That's kind of
You know,
perfect.
she said she felt really weird in the basement
Okay.
because all of a sudden everything changed from like graffiti and satanic symbols to like weird, like sort of like alchemist symbols and weird Wiccan looking stuff with like kids' hands and shit all over the place. And
Yeah.
she's like, it turned from like House of the Devil to the Blair Witch, like right away. And I
Yes.
said, I mean, it's the witch house, right? I mean,
So it should.
yeah. Um, there's various stories about there being an actual witch that lived there.
I
And
was just going to ask, how did it get its name?
the reason why the place is cursed is because she lived there. She was like some old spinster or something, and she, you know, I don't know, 8 children or 8 local pets or something. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what witches did back in the day. Yeah.
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 Well, you know, everyone was always wrong about witches.
Yeah.
In that the people they thought were witches weren't.
Yes.
And what they thought witches did was wrong. So they were really wrong about witches.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, I say it with lightheartedness about stuff, but when you tell strangers that there's these stories about this place called the Witch House,
Oh yeah, people are
immediately-
instantly just like, tell
you
them.
see,
Yeah.
you see it in their face, and you're just like, yeah, that's what makes this shit so great. Is we're still like inherently interested and terrified by these ideas of things.
It's like, tell
And
me
it's-
more, but I'm staying away.
Yeah, tell me more, but I'm fucking scared shitless.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's.
But when it's
really,
safe to get scared, we really enjoy being scared.
Yeah, like there's people that come from all over to actually visit the witch house. There's a lot of stuff about it, great accounts. There's like a Haunted Hamilton website where some people talk about it. If you just look up the witch house, 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚, Ontario, you'll find all kinds of stuff about it. Actually, I'm going to look it up right now because it's really really awesome.
Yeah, Marty's saying he's definitely going to take that 4-hour drive to come
do it,
visit
man.
now.
I mean, things have changed at the witch house. So the lawn, like the whole property was unkept for the longest time, and then all of a sudden somebody went in there. I think they bought the house. I think the family finally sold it. They bought the house and they cut all the weeds and stuff down, and there's actually like a functioning well in the backyard that you couldn't see because it was just so grown over.
Wow.
And they reboarded up the windows and I think put some new fence. I'm probably going to end up being torn down, which really bugs me because they can't. Okay, so it's not going to be torn down. So my mom's telling me that the city won't let them. Well, it's a heritage. Yeah, so 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚 has a
It's like historical preservation kind of protected
heritage
property.
designated building means you can't fuck with it.
Good.
It's really genuinely an old house to begin with. But I mean, they might do some. It needs to be renovated inside. It's absolutely a hazard.
Yeah.
You know, like floors have all rotted away and all sorts of stuff. So people would get hurt. So we got here sympathy for the devil.
Oh.
This is the place. Okay, so I'll read it in my voice.
Yes, narrator voice.
A couple of weeks ago, we went on a ghost walk by Haunted Hamilton, and at the end of the walk, we got a story about a house we could not go to because it was private property. All right. I'm just making sure this is the right one. There's a lot of pseudo haunted houses around here, but
So go ahead and start, and then verify that it's the right place.
yeah, no, it is.
No, yeah, okay.
Haunted Hamilton does the stuff in 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚 as well. Yeah, so the story goes that years and years ago, a woman purchased this house, now known as the witch house or the abandoned house, and she never left the house except to purchase groceries and the like. People began talking about the woman and thought her a witch. For her own protection, she sold the house and left. So that's one story, kind of, but not really. Another woman purchased the house and decided to turn it into a school for teaching children karate. Once inside, She saw a
Karate?
pentagram. Yeah, hilarious. She saw a pentagram in the living room and a dead dog. Yeah.
Yep.
Here's
Satanic sacrifice. Yep.
here's the story about the little boy. So the school opened and nothing happened until a year or something like that later. A boy, after class, went back into the house to say goodbye to his teacher. The boy was found with bruising on his arm at the bottom of the basement stairs, dead. The school closed as an investigation took place. So that's like one iteration of the dead young boy thing, right? So as you can always already see, some people have said it one way and some people have said it another.
Those are very specific stories. I like that they added all those nice details in.
So,
Like, yeah.
the school reopened a year later. After the first class, another boy was found with bruising on his neck at the bottom of the basement stairs, dead.
That's
With
what
both
happens when you
cases-
break your neck.
Yeah. With both cases, there was no one in the house that could have pushed the children down the stairs. In both cases, the basement door was locked, and the locks were higher than either boy could reach.
Wow.
After the second murder, the woman closed up shop and left. A family purchased the home. After the first night, they left the house and never returned.
Oh.
They paid someone else to bring their things. The house was boarded up, and they pay someone to maintain the property, and that is all. So, as you can see, some of the things that I've already said, they're regular iterations of something that happened. Although in one story, it was a boys' school, not a karate school. You know, I mean,
Karate school in Niagara. It just sounds like
yeah.
that's.
I know,
I love
this
it.
was like it happened in the '80s or something, but it was.
Yeah.
way
No,
earlier than
that's
that.
the story now.
Yeah.
Whenever you tell that story again, it's always going to be karate school. Just
So
always.
the owners are unlisted, and according to the tour guide, in their will, it says the house is never to be sold. Although I doubt the legality of that. Apparently, the transfer is blocked and cannot be seen without a court order. I doubt the legality of that.
Mm-hmm.
Their number is unlisted, and they refuse to talk about what happened in the house.
Well, I believe that.
Yeah, I do believe that. I went home and tried to find information about this house. My initial search turned up nothing. So these people went to the house and took pictures. And they're pretty good. This is a while ago. I think this is from 8 years ago. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
but not a real whole lot has changed. So, yeah. The old guy died, the guy who owned it. So then they sold it. Okay, so the old man who owned it and wouldn't let anybody sell it died, and then they sold the house.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, and this is awesome, that the house had a life of its own, and he didn't want anyone else to go through the same thing he did.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's scary as shit.
Yeah.
So, and when you look at pictures of the place, even in the middle of the day, it's still like, no.
Well,
Nope.
send me after
will.
tonight. Send me a link and I'll add it to the show notes so everyone else here can check it out.
Yeah.
We got Rachel and Lady Liz. They say they love your voice.
Oh, well,
So
thank you.
good job talking and good microphone choice there.
It's something that I do regularly. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So, have you had personal experiences? Have you had things actually happen to you?
I mean, yes, but I
mean, I know
wouldn't-
that you might not, you may not label them as like, oh, well, I saw a ghost or
No,
something, but
so in the area of so St. Catharines, Ontario is the city that I'm from, and there's a little township on the north point of it called Port Dalhousie, which was actually where Neil Peart from Rush, the drummer from Rush, was from.
Yep.
And also where the whole situation with Paul Bernardo happened. I'm sure anybody into murders and stuff has heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an old sort of factory area of town where there was a dry docks for the shipyards, because everything here was, had to do with cars at some point with GM and stuff being in the area, or to do with the shipping through the Welland Canal. So in Port Dalhousie there was a dry dock called Muir Brothers Dry Docks. My dad was actually a pretty buff historian about the area and stuff. And it's where he grew up. His grandfather moved to Port Dalhousie in the early turn of the last century, and yeah, my dad grew up there, and we grew up there, and so on and so forth. And at the end of Johnston Street, there's this really old, small cemetery, actually, where my dad's grandparents, his father, and soon to be my dad, because he passed away a number of years ago, and we're gonna put a little memorial thing there for him, where they all are, and it's mostly local people, you know. Well, it's at the end of a street. There's literally houses, you know. There's like a couple of houses where the side of their house looks out over the cemetery, and we always had all kinds of theories about, you know, oh, it must be so cool to live in this house right next to this creepy old cemetery. It's so old that the erosion on the bank behind it from rain and stuff like that was actually at one point exposing headstones that like people had forgotten were even there.
Oh my goodness.
You know, like they were old enough to have fallen, become buried, and then now you could see them through erosion and stuff like that. One night when I was a teenager and I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and we may or may not have been stoned as hell.
As every good ghost story entails. Yeah.
Right. Not drunk, not on anything hallucinatory,
No.
just boatloads of marijuana.
Mm.
And, you know, after a night of watching weirdo late night television and Beavis and Butthead and stuff, and
Oh yeah,
you know, we're
those
out walking
days.
around, and I see off in the distance, so I'm looking down the street from the intersection, looking down the street, and I can see off, sort of in the distance, this like light, which I thought initially was just like a really bright, like, firefly. Whoa. Scared me so much I forgot what fireflies were.
Twinkle bug.
Yeah, lightning butts.
Yeah.
But so I thought it was something like that, or something that was just like catching the street light or whatever. But it kept sort of getting a little bigger and just moving just a little bit, you know. And it was near where the really old headstones were, like some of the bigger ones, like the big one that's like an angel, or the really creepy shit that you would see in like a half sunken New Orleans cemetery or whatever.
Yeah, more or almost like a monument, like a small monument. Like,
yeah, exactly. But super eroded because it's just been like rained on for 150 years. And,
yeah.
And
Right.
And so I'm looking at it and I'm just watching this little sort of bouncing, moving, vibrating light thing just sort of get a little bigger and then just not, and then get a little smaller and so on and so forth. And then at some point it just sort of like goes into the ground and disappears.
No.
Right.
Okay.
And at the time I was probably 17. I was like, dude, I just saw a ghost. Like,
yeah.
straight up, that was a ghost. Nothing will ever shake my opinion, ever.
Yeah, because you're in a graveyard, of course, obviously.
Yeah. Staring at a graveyard, a goth kid at 17 years old,
Yeah.
higher than any 5 people. Just like, absolutely, this is totally like, that's 100% a ghost. Right?
Exactly. I mean, what else
never
would it be?
figured out what it was, but and I've never seen anything like that there since. But I always tell people about that story when I take them there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd make some new friend and they come visit me at my place to be like, let's go to the little cemetery at the end of the street.
Yes.
I'll tell you the story about the light that I saw disappear into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, why are you talking to me like that?
Because it's story time and it's creepy.
It's story time with Daniel Spooky Belasco.
Exactly. Why would they even question you?
Yeah, like, are you new?
Like,
Have you never met me before? Come on.
Do you know me? Like, hello.
So I mean, little things like that. I do have this really great story about Portaluzzi as well that somebody told me, and I'm pretty sure it's bullshit because of the source, but it's a really awesome tale anyways. So I told you that in Portaluzzi there was a dry dock, which is where they would build boats for the Island Canal and the St. Lawrence Seaway. And so it was a really bustling area in that one place there, and obviously lots of people died because it was a hazardous job building those things.
Yeah.
Anything where you're up on rafters, welding with no like goggles or anything. 'Cause
No
guys
safety
don't give a
belts.
shit, man.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No safety precautions whatsoever. And So there was this. It's a popular area. It's called Rennie Park. It's this little bit that sort of walks. It's a little park that surrounds a whole area where like the sort of end of the dry dock used to be, and there used to be these two big, huge brick buildings, uh, and so on and so forth. And so this older man was walking his dog through the park really, 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 really early in the morning. And well, really early in the morning to me is 11 a.m.
Yeah.
So really, really, really early is like 6 or
Right.
something
Like
weird like
sunrise,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, 5 a.m. or some bullshit like that.
Something, yeah.
He's walking his dog through there, and there's all these little park benches and stuff. And he sits down at one of the park benches, and he's just looking down, like retying his shoe or whatever. And he said that he started to smell like um what's the stuff that they use for welding. Anyways, he smelled the sort of burnt smell of welding and some oil and grease, and he could smell all that stuff.
Mm.
And when he raised his head up, he could see the faint outline of a big laker, like a big ship
Yeah.
in front of him, where the ship would have been when they were still have been working on the top part of the ship after they put the hull in the water.
But,
They
like
would-
welding flux? Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, well, like whatever they were using, welding flux. Yeah. So, and they were, all this bustling and stuff was going on, and he could see the sparks from the welders, and it just to him looked like a snapshot of actual history was playing out in real time in front of him,
Hmm.
and complete with smells and everything, which is the first thing that convinced him that it was real in some way, because your olfactory response is tied to like your greatest.
Yeah.
It's basically your greatest sense. It's far more trustworthy than your eyes or anything.
Yeah.
And then he sort of looked around a little bit, and his dog started barking, and then the whole thing just disappeared. So it was like-
okay. What was
was
it,
it
like an
really-
outline or like just like a complete like solid shadow?
Yeah, so it says a ghost ship could totally be a dimensional slip. Absolutely, 100% is what I feel. If this was even a real story from
Yeah.
this guy, that it was, something that was happening in real time on a different plane of existence, and it just swathed over for a few minutes, and that's why you could smell the smells and all that stuff, is that it was like actually a real thing, but it was happening on a timeline in some alternate dimension somewhere.
Yeah.
I
I mean, like, did he see that? Was it just like the outline, or did he see like a complete like solid shadow?
It's like if you double exposed a film piece of like a
Yeah,
picture
okay.
frame,
Okay.
right? But there was no other defining characteristics other than the boat, and he could see like faint little sort of like outlines of people. Like, I don't want to say outlines, but it's like the bright parts. It's like if you were looking at a something in black and white, and you could just see the white bits because they were showing through,
Yeah.
and the dark stuff was still sort of lost. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then he said it was, it was like in full color and everything. Like it was really a third of the way there. Like it was a third of the way into our dimension or whatever.
Okay.
And I mean, like I said, the source is a little like maybe, but you can't walk through your life denying everything, right?
I mean,
Especially when it's a super cool story like that.
it's not like it's totally impossible. Like you said, your
No,
sense of
sure.
smell is such a strong sense that it's.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it could have even it could have triggered a real memory he had of just like seeing photos of like historical photos or something, and then his brain just put that boat right there because he knows the land.
Yeah, I mean, he's a local, right? So,
Right.
and he knows all of the stuff and so on and so forth. I've had plenty of times where all of a sudden, so every summer for like 39 years, there was a carnival in Lakeside Park in Port Dalhousie, and it's not there anymore because well, we had extreme flooding one year that ruined a lot of things, and then we had extreme bullshittery with our fucking local city representatives that screwed everything up, and now the carnival will never come back. But I would just be walking around like during a time when the carnival wasn't there, and I would just smell popcorn and cotton candy and French fries and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that like there's restaurants in the area, because those restaurants didn't serve cotton candy or whatever. It would just be like
That's
This
completely
moment,
psychological. Like,
yeah, or I'd
that's
be sitting in my basement and I would smell those things and be like, how's that even fucking possible, right?
right.
But
Because your subconscious is thinking about that. And
yeah, well, and my dad grew up in the area, and when he was a kid, there was a midway in Lakeside Park all the time, year round. So all summer there was a midway that you would walk down sort of like the little main path through the park, and there was, places, little carnival games and all sorts of things, back when people were at least trying to live happier.
yeah.
And it was, having that kind of thing in my memory all the time and just like always be there and knowing what the whole area was like. um wouldn't it all surprise me that I would smell that kind of smell, which could be anything that was just enough like the smell of, French fries or cotton candy or whatever,
Yeah.
to trigger that sort of like, oh, maybe it's like a ghost carnival, which in my head is wicked awesome.
That sounds
So,
fantastic, and
yeah.
you're just like right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I'm completely entertained by these ideas. I mean, I love spooky shit. I love horror movies. I love all of this stuff. I used to be terrified of stuff when I was a kid, ghosts and aliens and all sorts of shit. And now, like, just bring it on. I want all of it. It makes life so much more fun when you can ascribe this fun lore to everything and be like, maybe I live in the middle of a ghost carnival. How cool is that?
Right?
Daniel, where are you from? I'm from a ghost carnival. Cool. That's
Like-
cool.
Like the ghosts invited me to be part of their freak show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the ringleader.
Yeah. Did any of those kind of like hyper imaginative experiences like inspire you musically?
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff does. I mean, like, the most recent Glass Apple Bonsai single is called The Skeleton Dance. my
Is she like tenderizing meat?
That's my mom. She's just. This is my mom's making shoes with the elves in the background.
Very good.
Yeah, my mom's awesome. She's really cool. We should do one of these. You should have my mom as a guest, and she can tell you all like the ghost stories and stuff that she used to tell.
Yeah, if she would like to come on, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, mom knows ghost stories about Portaluzzi too, so she knows way more than I do.
Okay.
I'm only cool because my mom is cool. That's it. That's really it. No. Yeah, I have a deeper voice than her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
already Rachel Robinson wants my mom to be on the show, so
Yay!
now you're on the spot. You can have my mom Wendy on the show. Yeah.
Bedtime ghost stories
Bedtime
would be
ghost
a fun show. Yeah. Exactly.
And my mom's awesome. She's an awesome storyteller too. Totally very entertaining. Like I said, I'm only cool because my mom's cool. So there you go.
I mean, give credit where credit's due, right?
That's true. Yeah. So I was talking about the new Glass Apple Bonsai single,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
called Skeleton Dance. And I mean, I'm fascinated by all aspects of spooky. Everything from ghosts to satanic rituals, demons, demonology, numerology, making fun of astrology, which I think is the one biggest pile of bullshit out there. But earthbound faiths, witchcraft, all of that stuff. I'm totally fascinated by everything that is like still kept relevant, even be it in like a pop culture form, when it's been met with nothing but resistance from the religious majority. I mean, if it was up to, look at what's going on with the Church of Satan right now. They have like signs where they've adopted highways in cities all over the United States.
Oh, I know. They
How
have
cool is that?
billboards now. Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't do that stuff before. I mean, it just
No.
wouldn't have
And
been
they're
allowed.
establishing churches like in each state now, all across.
Yeah. It's happening in Canada too. There's a chapter that's being sort of opened up in the area here, the sort of Niagara chapter of the Church of Satan, or the Satanic Temple. That's what it is.
The temple, yeah. I went to the Salem, Massachusetts temple last year.
So
it's more of an art gallery than like a
Yeah.
religious place, but it was awesome just to
Well,
be able
it's
to
not
go there.
It's not religious at all. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
is using the imagery of Satan and Baphomet and stuff to prove a point, which has needed to be proven for a really long time, which is nobody's right. Like, all of this religious stuff is just all as incorrect as it is correct. It's just all a matter of opinion and preference, and some of those opinions and preferences are being used to hurt people.
Yeah.
And so the Satanic Temple is just like, we're just not going to hurt people, but we're going to use Satan, which we don't believe in, as our iconography, because we know that we're purposely using it because it's going to shaft people that like to make the lives of other people in this world hell. So it's ironically it makes their life hell, I guess.
It just uses logic. It's like, look,
don't be a dick. It's like dudism. Don't be a dick, dude. Yeah, like, what the heck?
Do you and leave everyone else alone.
Now, that being said, I do not take away the benefits that some people have found with what I would consider modern organized religion like Christianity, Catholicism. Some people have used it the way that it should be. Are parts of it are a member of that part, the small minority, unfortunately, of people that have those faiths and they actually practice them for real, and they don't see them as a reason to shut out rights of other people. They see them as a reason to become a better person continuously, and they will never attain perfection because it's not possible. But their job is to work continually for their whole lives to be a better person and to accept everybody.
Yeah.
And in that rate, it's like, that's amazing. That's what these things, I mean, geez, just look at the whole story of Jesus and everything. Like, the people who the majority of people who practice the Christian religion are the least like Jesus. Like, absolutely straight up the least like him.
Yeah.
So have people who actually practice it and believe in it in a really wholesome and I wouldn't say progressive way, I'd say traditional way,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. Verdict Zero says it's the 0.1% of the Christianish population. That's very true. It is so minimal. And they are constantly being drowned out by the other ones, by people saying that they're not real Christians. But the ironic thing is they're far more realistically Christian than anybody else.
Right. And the traditional practices and stories and everything are getting lost.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're amazing. I mean, you want to talk about ghost stories. I mean, the Bible is chock full of like great ghost stories.
Yep.
And they're all, the Bible itself is, an interesting work of fiction, but as a moral guide for people who actually have no natural moral compass, I think those are the only people that can really benefit from something like the Bible. Unfortunately, it's been perverted and ruined, and they've changed words and terminologies and stuff like that. But I mean, the general rule of the whole Bible is that just don't be a shit. Just don't be shitty to people. Like, give it a rest. Right. Don't rely upon money. Don't shun people because they're not like you. Don't be mean to people. Don't be judgmental. Like, fuck.
And like every religion, like maybe not every, but so many of the not trendy, but so many of the like modern and like popular religions and stuff, they share those same values.
Sure, because it's morality. And I don't mean morality in like a made up sense. I made it in like a law of the land sense.
It's like what humans should be.
Yeah, it's various guides to being a decent person.
Yeah.
And the second that you use it and pervert it to be a hateful person, that's when you stop being anything like what you should be striving for.
Exactly.
Through your various faiths and so on and so forth. I mean, I've met a lot of people that claim to be Wiccan who are just like the fucking worst people ever. And I've met my best friend in the whole world, my buddy Derek, is a very devout Christian. And him and I are like the two people that should not be friends ever. But we've been best friends for like since 1993. So it's been a long time. And
well, it's because you accept each other and you can have you have your debates and you have common ground, but no one tries to be better than the other.
No, and he's actually a much nicer person to people than I am. Not that I'm, a prick to people, but I'm far more sarcastic. You know, when someone says something stupid, I'll be like, oh, here's a stupid thing a stupid person does.
Yeah.
You know? And he'll just be like, no, whatever. You know,
Right.
he does have his problems and so on and so forth, and some weird hang-ups, and not that he's, you know, homophobic or anything like that, but he still hasn't decided how he actually feels about the existence of gay people. However, at no point in his life, now, then, or ever, would he ever treat anybody any different.
Right, because that's a personal
Yeah.
issue that
not,
he's figuring out, but it's not like it's anyone's fault that he doesn't understand that. So
he's just the nicest person in the world, like by default, and he just wants to be friends with everybody. He's so approachable. Some people find him annoying because he's just like funny and happy, and you know how people get weirded out by happy people.
Well, that will make a lot of people angry because a lot of people are very unhappy and they want everyone, like, misery loves company, you know. So if someone is happy, you know, we get mad at it.
So earlier I sort of made mention that, like, when talking about religion, that like the people who follow the religion in a very traditional sense and actually are better people because of it, the same thing happens with happiness, or the guy who wanted to move out into the middle of nowhere and then like people shun him as being a weirdo. That's what happens when you're happy.
Yeah.
People are so unfamiliar with genuine happiness that they see it as some sort of like mental disability.
Well, whenever there's somebody who can just like do them, you know, when you can just do you know, and don't feel tied to the 9-to-5 job, or don't feel these like obligations to fit into the cookie cutter lifestyle of, like, you know, you're born, you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you have kids, you retire, you die. Like, anyone who doesn't feel obligated to the you know,
you're born, you grow up, your soul dies, you work during the prime of your entire life
as a soulless robot. You
retire, you try to be happy, but physically you can't do shit half the time, then you die. That's the world we've carved out for ourselves.
And anybody who goes against that and, you know, can just make their own happy or go after their own dreams, it's like the rest of the world is like, you're wrong, you're not doing what the rest of us have to do, I'm mad at you because you don't feel obligated to everything that the rest of us do, so I'm going to hate you.
I mean, like, here I am, 40 years old. I've been making music on my own since the mid to late 90s. Seriously, though, since, like, the mid-2000s. And the whole time, it was always like, when are you going to get a real job? It's like, this is a real job, if you really want to be truthful about it.
You want to define a job. Like, what is a job? It's working hard at something and making income, right? So
yeah, there's a difference between work and a job. You know, work I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid of doing work. I'm not afraid of working on music and doing post-production and stuff for people all the time. You know, it's work, but it's meaningful, and it's something that I'm good at and that I enjoy doing and I'm always getting better at doing. And
no, anyone else would tell you that's a hobby.
Yeah, well, those people are fucking idiots.
Right.
They're just so jaded that for the most part their life has been stolen from them,
and they just become bullies
that make money off of their labor. I mean, that's really what it is. You know, and we really have to work very hard at changing it, but it's not that easy because the people who benefit from our slavery light don't want us to stop, you know. But it's a really weird position that we've painted ourselves into a pretty big corner when it comes to this kind of thing, to the point now where the model that we all thought was going to work endlessly for us all, which was, you know, you go to public school, the Industrial Revolution model, which go to public school, go to some post-secondary education, get a decent job, work until you're about 60, 65 years old, retire, do some things for a few years, and then cack, right? That doesn't work at all anymore because A, the jobs aren't the same, B, the economy's not the same, and the future is not the same.
But our mentality hasn't adjusted
No, I mean,
to
here we
our
are in
lifestyle
Canada,
now.
you know.
Yeah.
In Canada, it's a little different. Right now, we're sort of, you know, during this whole pandemic shutdown, we've been getting something that's called 𝕬𝕬𝕤, which is the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit, right? And it's $2,000 a month to basically anybody that's out of work or lost to their job because of the lockdown and closures due to COVID-19.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
I know in the States you guys got like stimulus checks or whatever, right? But
Well, some of us did. Some of us are
yeah,
still waiting for them. That's a very
yeah,
sore subject in America. But yeah.
yeah, of course, you know, but here in Canada it's something that you get every month because like when jobs are just disappearing, you can't tell people to go out and get a job. It's like, well, where? And secondly, there's a lot of people that can't go out and risk their health
Yeah.
out in that,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So what this is doing for a lot of people is proving to them the concept of universal basic income, which is something that a few other countries in the world are doing, and it's something that has proven to be less of a tax load on the country than if they didn't. So what we're talking about is raising the quality of life for people, everyone. So if you work and you only make like $1,200 a month, what UBI will do is it'll make sure that you get the rest filled in to make a universal basic income, a basic amount per person you will get.
Exactly.
If you make more than that, right, like a lot more than that, then you won't be able to get it. But if you make just a little bit more than that, there might be some incentives that you like, some resources that you might be able to get because you're just sort of above the cusp, and it still might be a little rough for a little while.
So, as the ambassador for people moving to Canada, you're saying as soon as the borders reopen,
Well, if you
everybody
want
go to
to.
Canada.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's plenty of room in Canada.
Yeah,
So,
that's for sure. So
yeah.
all of this now is still sustaining you musically and helping you to keep putting out.
Well, actually, my fans are sustaining me.
Oh.
Because I mean, I just released 𝕬𝕬𝕤 Dance, which is a 3-track little mini EP, maxi single. Actually, they used to be called when stuff was released on vinyl and cassettes.
Yeah.
And I released a full album from a side project called ℍ𝕬𝕤𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕜.
And those are all on Bandcamp, right?
Everything's on Bandcamp, yeah.
And I have links to that in the show notes for anyone interested.
So all of that has brought in a pretty decent amount of revenue in the last few weeks that it's been out. It's been out since my birthday, so there was a really heavy hit right out of the gate, you know, all kinds of people buying it, and then there's a bit of a lull, but I'm you know, doing a CD and cassette release of the ℍ𝕬𝕤𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕜 album, and then getting some publicity, and so on.
Like
so
physical cassette tapes and physical CDs.
Yeah.
Yay,
Physical merch is a
stuff.
weird thing these days because you literally never have the right amount of stuff made.
Yeah.
You could be like, oh, I'm only going to do a run of 25, and then like you
sell like 100 or
yeah, and then people want tons of them, or you get 100 made and then you sell 18 of them, you know. So it's weird. But Bandcamp has this new and amazing thing that they're doing where they do a vinyl pre-sale for you. Where they manage it all, so you have 30 days or more, I think, depending on what you choose, for people to buy enough copies of the record pre-sale, and then they press the records and ship them to people.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Which to someone like me is the greatest thing ever, because shipping vinyl is a huge pain in the ass. It's super
so delicate, right? Yeah.
And also shipping right now, like if you go to my Bandcamp page and you see some of the physical merch, you'll see that the shipping rates are almost double the amount.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's because to ship stuff to the US especially is way more expensive than it needs to be. I'm actually in the middle of hooking up with a warehousing company that is going to take a bunch of my merch, hold it, and ship it when a U.S. order comes in, so that the shipping can be brought way down.
Oh, so and they're based in the U.S.
They're based in the U.S. Yeah, they're in Portland.
Okay.
So
that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's all kinds of things and stuff and whatever. I'm just trying to make trying to make $1 million. So
You're gonna make 1 million and then just be done. Just that's it. Be like, I'm out. I've made $1 million.
well, no, knowing me, no, it wouldn't be like that. I would I would make $1 million and then I would buy a house, right?
Mm.
And put my current studio and everything into it and put a little bit of work into it. And then I would fund a tour. Now, mind you, this would obviously be 200 years in the future when we're allowed to go on tour again.
Yep.
And, or, I would hire a video crew and we would do like a full video production live stream. I'd have a whole band. If I would just go over the top with everything.
Yeah.
And then that $1 million would be like, 400,000 left. And and I would just ride off that for as long as I could.
It's an excellent plan. Hopefully you live 200 more years for tours to be allowed again and to do all that. But in the meantime,
yeah,
we all got plenty of time to help you make that $1 million.
yeah, so I have, over 2,000 likes on Facebook, which is fucking bullshit. That's nothing. I have like 1,800 followers on Bandcamp, which is pretty good actually on Bandcamp. That's nice. And some other people on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. So my big thing is to actually, everybody says, if everyone on my Facebook gave me $1, I would have this many dollars.
Right.
So my whole thing is I really want to spearhead a campaign where it's like, give me $1. It's give Daniel $1 campaign, right? Where it's like, okay, I have 2,100 people likes on Facebook. I have 1,800, say, on Bandcamp. I have maybe another 1,000 or so between Instagram and Twitter or whatever. If I could somehow figure out a way to get $1 out of everybody,
yeah,
it would be a lot of money to me. If I could get $2 out of everybody, holy shit. So that's the math that a lot of musicians don't seem to understand, right? Is you look at let's say a big mid-tier band like, let's say V&V Nation. So they might be one of the biggest bands in the sort of industrial electronic crowd, but in the grand scheme of bands out there, they're like a C-level band, okay? They have maybe a few 100,000 fans throughout the world, which is pretty good, but not huge. However, if they were to get $1 from every one of their, let's say 250,000 fans worldwide, and completely negating exchange
like
rates
taxes and things, yeah,
they would have $250,000, which is a lot of money to anyone. Even millionaires would be like, I gladly will take your $250,000.
Yeah.
So you have this reach, right, which is really hard for you to get to everybody. So let's say that on average, if you ask 250,000 people for $1 each, that 175,000 of them go through with it. That's still $175,000.
Yeah.
Right. So I may only have a few thousand fans worldwide, legitimately or whatever. And if I asked every one of them for $1, and 75% of them gave me $1, that's still a couple of grand.
Yeah.
If I asked them all for $10, that could be a life-changing amount of money to me.
I mean, the percentage of responders might go down, but the amount of money that you would have would be significantly more.
So a band like me, like if I could get 1,000 of my fans to give me $10, and I'm not gonna just ask for $10 on its own. I'm gonna give you something for it, right? Like here's a record that's just for you guys, just for anybody who contributes.
See, this is the kind of Patreon stuff that needs to be going on.
I have a Patreon, and I also have a GoFundMe that's still running too. The GoFundMe schedule has been completely shifted because it involved actually being able to play live shows and doing a live recording, and obviously that's not happening the way that it was going to. And I've had some amazing people. There is an EP that's available to only my Patreon subscribers and my GoFundMe contributors, and I have a new one coming out soon too.
So we'll put that link in show notes too, so you guys who are watching should
also consider that
But
because it's super hard for artists of all
yeah.
types right now.
Well, I mean, $10 is I'm not going to say it's nothing. $10 per person is not nothing. $10 could be a couple of, or three or four, depending on what kind of coffee you like. Could be a few coffees, you
Yeah.
know. But $10 is still like not a huge amount to ask people. But if 1,500 people gave me $10,
Right.
that would be a life-changing amount of money for me to get.
Right.
You know, it would allow me to do it would allow me to make sure my bills are all paid. That would be my job. That it officially at that point, music is my full-time job. If I could make an amount of money that actually allowed me to, I don't want to live frivolously. I just want to have my gear and have a place with a studio where I can just work on music for people all the time and give people free shit all the time.
And it's
all
like, think
sorts of-
about what we spend $10 or even $20 on,
Yeah.
like, without even thinking about it now. You know, we're just like, oh, you know what? I feel like pizza tonight, so you just go ahead. You don't even think about it. Or, oh, you know, I want
Yeah.
some new shoes. Or I want, you know what? I just want some new laces to make my shoes pretty. Like things we don't even need. We're spending
Yeah.
more money on when, you know, you could use it to support the arts.
Well, this ties into the idea of the universal basic income and how it would change the quality of life for people. So I read something today which was really great, which talks about how when people who are generally poor, right, like when they get, say, something like their stimulus check, or like in Canada when we get 𝕬𝕚 or whatever, their money is inherently worth more to the economy. So if you gave $2,000 a month to the average person that is quote unquote impoverished, you know, lives on or below the poverty line,
Right.
all of a sudden, all of the things that they weren't able to get, and we're talking like things like food and maybe a slightly better cell phone plan, or things, or slight, you know, whatever, a halfway decent computer so they can do more work for somebody or whatever. All of a sudden, their quality of life goes up, and the
Right.
money is immediately put back into the economy. You give a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar company $2,000 a month, and they do nothing with it.
No, it just
It doesn't
adds to
go.
the balance.
They
Like,
store it offshore to accrue interest, and they do not dump it back into the economy, which means that inherently, money
and they
given
still lay people
to-
off that month.
Yeah,
Like,
money
yeah.
given to improve the quality of life of people who live on or below the poverty line is inherently worth more to the economy than that money given to people who essentially don't need it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to drive home this idea that musicians, especially right now, musicians, visual artists, digital artists, all kinds of people, you know, who we've been, you know, working Joe jobs and shit jobs trying to make, you know, the day-to-day matter and so on, and still fitting in doing all of this like endless stream of content for people. You know, we're not asking for a ton of money. You know, if I could bring in $2,000 a month off of just making music myself, that would be $1 a month from every single person that likes my band page on Facebook.
And I mean, how much do you do right now that ends up being either out of your pocket or basically just because you're an artist and you have to create?
Well, pretty much everything. I
Exactly.
mean,
And think
the
about
money
it.
that comes back in from digital album sales and stuff goes right back into the band, perpetuating the music and stuff like that. You know, it has paid my bills and stuff in the past. At the moment, right now, I'm doing okay.
I mean, like, how
but-
many of us are going to wake up every morning and do our job if we're not getting paid? You know?
Yeah, well, that
Not
is it.
not very many, you know. So I mean, that's very respectable, and we should be supporting the arts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, during this pandemic where people have been primarily locked in their homes and have just been gorging on the various forms of entertainment that they have, I mean, if you stop and you take a look at all the stuff that you've been consuming while you haven't been at your job or whatever, it's all stuff made by artists.
And
Like,
just because
literally
and
everybody.
streaming stuff is streaming now, so we're even more reluctant to want to pay because we're like, things are streaming, things are at our fingertips. We don't have to wait for shipping. We don't have to wait for the stores to open to go out and buy that CD. You know, we don't have
Yeah.
to. You know, we can just download everything. It's like,
Yeah, but somebody took a lot of time
Yeah.
to make
I
that,
mean,
and
I could go on this conversation for several hours.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I'm not at all trying to guilt people into giving me money. I mean, I know that there's a lot of artists and musicians out there that are higher up the tier than me, and so on and so forth. I understand the environment, and I understand too that other people don't have money to spare as well. So a fan to me is still some, even if they've actually never paid for any of my material whatsoever, they still enjoy what I make, and they still listen to it, and they still tell people about it, and they still play it in their cars when their friends are driving with me. That stuff is a huge part
yeah.
of gaining a fan base,
Word of
is
mouth is a
exposure
big
through
deal.
word of mouth. It's a
Yeah,
huge deal. And I view every fan as just important as the next, you know, because they, if I didn't have to worry about money at any point in my life, I still would make music all the time. Actually, my output would be ludicrous,
mm,
you know, because I like being able to do this and give this to people and have it be, you know, a thing that I'm sharing with people. However, in the current state that I'm in, and a lot of other musicians and artists of our ilk are in, is financially, I mean, stuff still needs to be paid.
yeah.
Um, and most musicians will say, I'm not asking for $10,000 a month. If you want to give me that, that's cool. I'm not going to say
I
no. But
mean, yeah.
you know, I have only so many fans. I have about 20 some odd supporters on Patreon, which isn't huge, but it's still an extra like $75 US a month, which is huge. That's huge to anybody that's had money problems. $75 a month is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've raised I don't know, a couple grand or so on my GoFundMe, which is still about $13,000 short of the goal or whatever. But I'm not going to be like, oh, you failed me, all of you fans. It's going to be like, wow, I brought in like $2,500. That's
Yeah.
pretty fucking cool.
It's
My
like,
fans
hey,
are rad.
yeah, go
You
me.
know,
People are,
so
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm always super grateful of anything that anybody ever gives me in terms of money or advice, or well, advice to a certain degree.
I mean, maybe from certain people,
Yeah.
not just
Let's
like.
be real here, you know. Some advice people give me and it's great. Some advice people give me and I'd just rather they given me money. You know?
Exactly. So I'll put links to all your pages in the show notes. Definitely, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, to all your musical projects and whatnot, so everyone can go over and give you a like and start hanging out with you when you do your live streaming parties and
Yeah.
whatnot. So, yeah, and if your mom wants to come on, that'd be awesome. We got a good
Yeah,
response
my
in
mom's
chat
rad.
from that. So, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up, but it was
Oh
a
yeah, I gotta make
pleasure.
pork chops for dinner, so I mean I gotta
Pork
like
chop sandwiches, huh?
pork chop sandwiches.
Yes.
I'm a computer. Anyways,
You're not cooking.
stop all the downloading.
Lady
Body
Liz is just
massage.
typing ellipses here. Are you okay, Lady Liz, with all the
Body
ellipses?
massage. Body massage machine.
Gee.
Go.
G.I.
Body massage.
That's red versus blue G.I. Joe for those of you who are very confused right now.
Isn't it funny? These people go to sleep at night, they think everything's fine, everything's good, and they wake up in the morning, their house is on fire.
Yeah, I mean, America. Well, or
Yeah.
Canada.
G.I. Joe.
Body massage, yeah.
Body massage.
Okay. Alright, sir. Well, you go get your pork chop, not sandwiches.
Yeah, well, they might be sandwiches. You never know. You don't know me.
Well,
You can't tell me that you don't know.
I
if
don't
it's a
know
sandwich or
you.
not.
Yeah, don't burn your house down.
Yeah, I won't. That I won't do.
Okay. Alright. Very good. Well, awesome
Well,
talking
thank
to
you
you.
for having me as a guest.
Indeed.
And yeah, I'll tell you. We totally got to get my mom on here. It'd be hilarious. She's awesome.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
send her my way and we'll schedule something, so.
Yeah.
Very good. Alright, sir. Enjoy your night.
Well, I just have one more
Yes.
thing to say. It's nice pass, Blanco Nino, but too bad your ass got sacked.
Sacked. Oh, boy.
Yes. Okay.
Very good. Okay. Good night.
Well,
Enjoy your sandwiches, or not
thank
sandwiches.
you, and thank you everybody for listening. That's my announcer voice. Well, thank you for watching.
Good night.
Okay. Do I just hang up now? Like that's it.
Yeah, we good. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was Daniel Belasco of 𝕬𝕬𝕚𝕚. I'll put all the links to his social media in the show notes. And if you have any other, post-show questions or comments or anything, I'm going to do my post-show chat. I've been doing Facebook Live for that. Doing the room in the Coffee with the Dead group wasn't really working out because it's a video chat room, and understand that many people just don't want to use a webcam, which you don't have to. Just so you know, in the future when there are those Facebook rooms, chat rooms set up, you can just use your voice. So it's okay. You don't always have to show your video. The only thing you can't do is there's no text. So you either have to use your voice or, well, use your voice because you're not going to chat just with your face, right? So anyway, I'll be doing the Facebook Live, so you can text. You can you chat there by, putting in your comments. And let's see. Looking for interviews. It sounds like Daniel's mom will be one of them here at some point. But the show is open for interviews starting actually next week. So I have to get on that and really think about what I'm doing. And there's plenty of new merch over in the Teespring store. And I, as well, going back to the topic of Patreon, have a Patreon page myself. It's patreon.com/CWTD. And we have 3 Patreons already. We have Lisa Rambo. We have Chris Geiser. And we have Haven Van Heusen. Now, Haven is also working on his own musical project. So I am going to post some updates and little spots for him there on the Patreon page, as well as maybe and links, just links to it on Facebook, but on the Patreon page there I will put up a little spot there for Haven to kind of promote himself there. So we got that going on. We got pet hoodies. I told you all about that. Let's see. Oh, I have 3 new mask designs. So now there are a total of 4 different mask designs. They're just the cotton face masks with the cotton ear straps, not the elasticy ones, like the soft, nice cotton ones that aren't gonna hurt your ears. So you should definitely get those, wear them, save Halloween. Bring back concerts. We can. This new normal is not okay. I want to go back to actual regular normal. I want to go back to before quarantine days, that kind of normal. And I'm sure all of us would kind of enjoy that. I don't want to say that we're going to be wearing masks for forever. That's not, there's a bug. That's not an acceptable new normal to me. And I just don't like it. So bring back concerts, save Halloween, wear your freaking mask, buy my masks, and show off the show. Let's see. We got throw pillows. We also have tote bags and new shirt designs. I made a bunch. I made like a dozen new shirt designs and tank tops, and there's all kinds of stuff. So you should go over there, Teespring, check it out. If you're interested in being on the show, email me, paraann@cwtd.co. You can also call and leave a voicemail if you'd like to do it that way with your voice. It's 443-267-8217. Just leave a voicemail and I'll get back to you. So, we done. Indeed. Alright. Thanks again for watching. And everyone in chat, I appreciate you participating. Chat was super busy tonight. I love that. Yeah, Marty's saying, yeah, he agrees, about wearing your mask and save Halloween and bring back concerts. Yes, indeed. So, okay. Well, we're going to Facebook Live now for the post show. And we'll see y'all later. Remember, until next time, the veil is thin.